Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you guys are here. And for our last meeting in English of this year, so 2020 is about to finish, and we are doing I think, our 12th meeting of the year in English, and hopefully we will have much more next year. So before we invite Nancy to come here to read a brief message and make some comments to us, let's do our initial prayer, and we will continue our meeting. And so if we want, we can close our eyes and focus even more on the good spirits that are usually helping us, remembering our dear friend and Master Jesus, and above all, thinking about God, our Creator, Father, Mother, the one that gave us life, and thanking them all for everything that we've been getting so far. Thanking them for the life that we have, for the blessings that we receive every day, for being able to breathe, to have a shelter, to have food to eat, to have the opportunity of learning about their laws that guide us, that surround us, and that fulfill our lives with love and with compassion. May tonight we be able to grasp the concepts of parts of this law, so that we can, in learning these teachings, make them part of ourselves, so that we can start to live by those principles. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, good spirits, and thank you, God, for allowing us to be here. And may we receive your blessings now and always. So be it. So let's invite Nancy. So she will be talking about the book Our Daily Bread.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, like Mackenzie said, the message for tonight is number 123 from the book Our Daily Bread, and the title is Common Condition. Immediately, the boy's father exclaimed, "I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief." This is on Mark chapter 9, verse 24. The individual that approached Jesus from the multitude, holding his sick son in his arms, constitutes the common spiritual expression of humanity on earth. The religious circles comment excessively on their faith in God. However, during stormy moments, there are few. I'm sorry, guys. I think I drank water like too fast. No, thank you. I think I got. If I need, I will ask. Thank you very much. During stormy moments, there are few devotees that maintain this firm confidence. The masses reveal themselves to be very attentive to the ceremonies of the exterior worship, participating in the elusive involvement of their faith. But when confronted with scandalous difficulties, almost everyone sleeps on the cliff of reciprocal accusations. If a missionary fails, the abandonment is verified. The community of believers keeps their eyes on the fallible man, being blind to the ultimate goal or indifferent to the establishments. In a movement of such spiritual insecurity, without the paradoxes, human beings believe and disbelieve, having confidence one day and lacking it the next. We are still confronted by a regiment of infantile, confused spirits who have only commenced to conceive the notions of responsibility. Happy are those who, like the needy father, get close to the Christ, confessing their precarious intimate position. Thereby affirming their faith verbally, they will at the same time plead for assistance for their lack of faith, tearfully attesting to their own miserable position. Okay, so this message is talking about faith, our faith. And I made some single comments and I will mention the paragraph. It starts to saying this passage on Mark 9:24. It's Mark is telling us a man, it's a father, came to Jesus with his son in his arms asking for help. His son was sick. And when he came to Jesus, he confessed to him that he was like conscious that he has not enough faith and asked Jesus to help him to overcome it. Like, I know that my faith's not enough. Please help me to overcome, to get it better. So, in the paragraph 2, it shows to us that this man, it's a very common spiritual expression of humanity. That's what it says on the paragraph number 2, saying that it's very common to happen with us. Like most of us has a weak faith, small faith, right? Like the man in this story. During paragraph number 3, during stormy moments, it says there are few devotees that maintain this firm confidence. It's saying that usually we say, "Oh yes, I have faith in God." Usually, I affirm to myself, and we do this way. But when the problem hits our lives, we lose our faith in God. Oh my God, what's going on? God's not looking for me. He's not paying attention. I'm here crying and suffering and blah, blah, blah. And God, you know what? He's helping anybody else, not me. Usually that's the way we do. And number 6 says if a missionary fails, the abandonment is verified, saying that we have to understand that the missionaries telling about all kind of people that come and talk about Jesus or about religious stuff, uh, this or that man, this or that woman is a single human being like me, like you, like everybody else. So uh, and what he's saying here, if this person fails for any reason, if I notice something wrong that this person do, I will say, oh, religious is not good because you see that guy, he comes here in the front and say that we have to do this, we have to love, we have to forgive, we have to do this, that, that. But the person that is saying is not doing the same thing. So then I get frustrated and say, you know what? I will abandon the religious stuff because you see that guy. So he's trying to tell us that we have to focus in Jesus. He is the guide and example. The missionaries are as us, a single person. I took a note here. We have to understand that a missionary person or a religious speaker is a man or woman as us, and its person can fail. That's the word I would like to say. Usually, if they realize they did something wrong, we lose our faith. Base your faith in Jesus, not in a single man or in a single person. And the paragraph number 8 says, uh, as a human beings, we have ups and downs. Sometimes we believe, sometimes we disbelieve. Sometimes we have faith, sometimes we do not. So, like he said on this paragraph, having confidence one day and have a lack of confidence in the next day. So, look like a roller coaster, right? Ups and downs. And the paragraph number 9 said, Emmanuel said, as a spirit, we are kids. Our level, we are still kids. We just started to conceive the notions of responsibility. So we have a long way to go to get our faith stronger. But we have to work a little bit every day, every single day. And the paragraph number 10, it's wrapping up the message, is beautiful. It's saying, happy are those who are like the needy father, the father in this story, get close to the Christ, confessing their precarious, intimate position. So Emmanuel is ending this message saying that it's good for us to come to Jesus. You know, when you have your moment, your intimate moment in your room, you know, when you are quiet, go there and send a prayer, talk with Jesus, open your heart, confessing your weakness. That's okay. He knows that we are still little kids, and ask for help. That's what I understood. So let's try to have more faith. Thank you very much, guys. And now with Mackenzie.
So, good evening again. Um, Here we are to continue studying the Gospel according to Spiritism. And tonight we're going to talk a little about chapter 8, which is still the one that we are working on. And we're about to finish it. Next month we will read, or we will talk about the last message of this chapter. But tonight, and the chapter is titled, Blessed are the Pure in Heart. And we've been studying it for a few months now. But now we reached items 18 and 19, which is let the little children come to me. And I'm not sure if everybody knows, but the Gospel according to Spiritism, most of the chapters it has an initial part where we have Kardec usually gets a message from the Bible, some items, some verses from the Bible, either Luke, Mark, John, or Matthew, and then he grabs like some verses from there, puts it in the beginning, and then makes a comment about it. Then he does that for a few items. Then comes the last part of the chapter, which is called instructions from the spirits. And what are instructions from the spirits? Are messages that were received on the Spiritist meetings that Kardec used to go in France, or not only him, but other people as well around France. So the messages of today, for example, one was received through a medium, and we don't know who the medium was because he doesn't list the name of the medium. He only lists the name of the spirit who gave the message, and then the year when the message was written, and the place where the message was written. So tonight, for example, we're going to have two messages. One from John, the evangelist, which is one of the writers of one of the books of the New Testament, the Gospel according to John. That message was received in Paris in 1863. The other message was written by a protecting spirit. It doesn't have a specific name. It only has the spirit's name, or whatever he signed was a protecting spirit. So it's like a guardian angel or person, that a spirit that was around there. Was probably like the guardian angel or the protecting spirit of one of the mediums that were around. And then he wrote this message in 1861 in the city of Bordeaux. So these two messages Kardec put together, and he chose the title of these two messages because to explain, or use Kardec uses these messages to explain a little bit more about what is "Let the little children come to me." So that's usually how Kardec divides the Gospel according to Spiritism. He does that initial part, and then the second part are messages from the spirits explaining also the Gospel according the Gospels. So I guess everybody knows, or having done this brief introduction about the Gospel according to Spiritism, I guess that many of us know or heard this story uh, um, where Jesus, or when Jesus tells this sentence, "Let the little children come to me." Since it may be that some don't remember, what I'm going to do, because it's very short, I'm going to just read a few of the words here where Jesus tells this. And it is in Mark, the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 10, verses 13 to 16. And then it starts like this. Now people were bringing little children to Jesus for him to touch, but the disciples scolded them. Move the children away. Say, "Get out of here. You're making too much noise." It's like Tiago when he was very young. "Oh, let's move it away. He's too noisy." Amanda and all the kids that were here. So many kids around at that time. Um, so the disciples said, "No, we don't want any children near Jesus. Move it away, move it away." When Jesus saw this, he was displeased. So he was not happy when he saw the disciples moving the children away from him. He said to them, "Let the little children come to me, and do not try to stop them, for the kingdom of God belongs to those who are like them. Truly I say, whoever will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter the kingdom of God. And he took the children in his arms, put his hands on them, and blessed them. So, this is the story where Jesus says, "Let the little children come to me." It is a story that it's kind of well known in the for us, or for people who read or hear about Jesus and his teachings. And we already talked about it. I mean, talked about this passage a while ago, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, when we read this passage and we talked about it. And then at close to the end of the chapter, Kardec takes two messages that were dictated, as I was explaining in the beginning, or written by some mediums, and um, from these two spirits, John the Evangelist and a protecting spirit, that will talk a little bit more about this passage, but not necessarily about the passage. They will talk about these words or this sentence, because I guess you all know that. I don't know, everyone here, I don't know if you all like to read, but say we watch a movie, or we like a movie a lot, or we like this book a lot, and then we read this book a few times, whatever the book is, The Little Prince, or I don't know, whatever the book is. And, oh, I love this book so much, I'm going to read it again. Or I read it such a long time ago, and I remember that I liked that book. Let me read this book again, or at least start reading it again. And when we do that, it's very, very common that we usually see things very different than we saw when we read that book for the first time. Why? Of course, we grew up, we grew older, we have more experience, we have learned so many more things. And now a word that had a certain meaning when I was young, it has a different meaning today. So I can get more senses out of that word, out of that sentence, out of that passage. And this works for everything, right? Yesterday I was watching something with my wife at home, and there was this scene when this girl enters a school where she was raised in. She was an orphan when she was very young, and she lived at that place for a little while, for I don't know, maybe I don't remember how many years, but maybe 7, 8 years. And then she moves out of that place, is adopted, and then one day in the future, like 3, 4 years later, she comes back, and she goes back to that same place to visit a friend that had just passed away, and she went to the waking and everything. So when she goes inside that school, right? I look at that scene, and I say to myself, and I say it out loud, something like, "Oh, that's an interesting feeling." And of course, we don't know what that girl is feeling, because we're not in her place. And of course, it's just a movie, right? Um, but I guess we've all been there. I mean, did something like that. We didn't go to a place for I don't know how many years, and then one day we go back there, and we will see it completely different, and we will have so many emotions remembering what it was. But as we are walking, or we are seeing, or we are looking, or we are reading, or we are rewatching a movie, we will have so many more feelings, because it's connected to what I was in the past, what I am right now. And bless you. So it is interesting that for us to really to realize this, and to internalize this idea, so that we can really understand that when we are reading or rereading passages from the Gospel according to Spiritism, or any other book, it is a nice exercise to try to grasp some other concepts, and not to get stuck to what we thought it was back then, because we were younger, we had no experience, or we had less experience, and now we can see it with different eyes, and we may try to grab some more insights from it. That's growing up. That's not being, in some degrees, a little children anymore. But on the other hand, if we are open, just like I said, when we go back to a place and or go back to a book or go back to a movie and we have our minds open, what does that mean? Meaning that I want to learn something new, even though I am at the quote unquote same place or same book or same movie or talking to the same person. If I have my mind open, I am like a little children. Because little children, they are amazed by what's going on. It doesn't matter what's going on. They're always amazed. It's like they are trying to grasp everything at once, and they are trying to suck all the excitement or all that is to learn at that moment in. But when we grow up and we get out of that phase, what do we usually do? Oh no, now I already know what that is, so I don't even want to look at it anymore. And then comes another person that has an open mind, looks at that, and then tells us or tells a lot of people something about it, and then say, how did he see that, or how did she see that on that passage that I read so many times before? Exactly because they opened their minds. They were able to look into it way more than what we were, because we close ourselves. So when Jesus says, let the children come to me, let the little children come to me, he's not only not separating a lot of people, because children, it's a lot of people in the world. Can you imagine if the disciples were bringing children to Jesus, and then they moved the children away, and Jesus didn't say anything about it? We probably wouldn't have a lot of people teaching children. Yeah, exactly. Or would stop bringing them because, okay, no, so if Jesus said that they wouldn't come, so leave them away. Can you imagine how different that would have been? So what he's saying, and he's saying much, much more than this, right? But this is one thing that we usually not even think about it, right? How small things can grow so big, right? So if he says that he wants, let them come. And I keep thinking about, sometimes when I think about children, and I'm going to go back to this in a few. When I think about children, I remember something that I read quite a while ago. Can't remember exactly where it was, but talking about how children were seen in the past. And when I say in the past, I say 200, 300 years ago. When we look at paintings, and that was the example that they used, when we look at paintings from, say, 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, mainly in Europe, where it was civilization was, much more advanced, and they have all those great painters and so on. We look at children, and we see the children there as if they are, and that's what they said in the article, as if they are adults in miniature. They were not considered children as we consider them today. They were as if we have an adult that doesn't have a brain. And then for whatever reason, when they were growing up, the brain or whatever they considered at the time, it was as if there was no space for inside of them to learn. And then so they didn't bother with children. Now, when they grow up, they grow up. So they taught them, but they felt as if they were just like passing time, as if it was nothing. We shouldn't pay attention to children. as if they had mental problems, let's say. Then when they get to a certain age, then they learn. Today we know that's one of the most important times for us as humans is to teach little children and not to move them away, to leave them. Because if we don't teach them, or whatever we teach them when they are younger, it's going to be much tougher to unteach or to remove those ideas from them when they are older. And we don't need to go far away to understand that in our own lives. There are some stuff that I do today that I know that I did it so many times when I was young because of my parents' education, because of my brothers, my sisters, and so on. And now if I want to move to change something in myself, it's very hard. Why? Because it was repeated so many times when I was younger. I use myself as an example in terms of because recently I didn't stop completely, but I reduced, I'd say 95% the consumption of meat. So I basically don't eat meat anymore. But I ate meat for 46 years in my life. So how do you change that? How can you stop liking something that you liked for 46 years in your life? It is hard. It is very hard. So imagine we're talking about something physical. I'm talking about something physical because I think that we can understand better. But with our minds, with our hearts, it's the same idea. If I repeated the same mistake for 46 years, how am I going to change my behavior? It is going to be hard. Same thing with children. So, why? Because it starts with the children. So if we start to teach them correct when they're younger, I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's easier than if we start teaching them when they're older. I'm not saying that's easy because depending on how the person is, how the child is, it might not be easy. But at least we are giving them a head start. But sometimes we leave for them to learn when they are to choose when they're 18. Well, when they're 18, then everything is formed. So for example, here in the United States, you can only start legally drinking when you're 21. Why? Because up to 21, the studies show that your brain is much more susceptible to become addict to the alcohol and to any other substances than when you're younger than that. So if you start at 16, it's more likely that you will become an alcoholic later on in life than if you start later on, because now you have all your judgment, everything is okay. Is it saying that a person that starts to drink at 21 will not become alcoholic? No, it's not that will not, but it's harder because now you have all your faculties, you know life, and although when we are 16, we think that we have control over everything, that we know it all, that nobody knows better than I do, so I have control. And we all know that's not true, but how can we say that to a child of 16? It is very hard. So that's when we and those are simple examples of how important it is education in that sense, and how important it is that saying what Jesus says, let those children come to me. And then we can understand now that it's not just about bringing the children to the Spiritist Center, to the church. No, but it's bringing to them, or maybe bringing them to, it doesn't matter, but bringing the good message to them and not letting that message only get to them when they are older, because it is important that we protect their minds and their hearts. And by protecting is not letting them know what's outside. No, It's to giving them the tools so that they can comprehend and understand and make their choices when they are presented with stuff in life. Because one thing is to protect and not let them see anything, and then they go outside, and then what will they find? They will find everything that we try to protect them from. But now, do they know how to deal with those problems or no? It is completely different than when you present them with the problem, say, this is how it is, this is what happens, this is why we're not allowing you to do it. One day you will not have me anymore, you will not have your mom anymore, and you will be the one choosing. What will you choose? Then it's your responsibility. You see how different it is than to just protect, and like people say, like what's the expression in English? They call it helicopter parents or hovering parents, meaning that their parents are always like protecting them, like drones around, and nothing gets close to their kids because they need to be. And then all of a sudden, the parents are not there anymore. What are the kids going to do? How are they going to behave? How are they going to relate to life if the parents don't allow them to do what they need to do? So when Jesus says, "Let them come to me," it's it is as if, I mean, Jesus will not be there for forever. So it's always also for us to bring Jesus to them. And when I say bring Jesus, of course we are Christians and we talk about Jesus. But I guess that at this point, at least here in Continue, I said this so many times that when I say Jesus, I'm saying Jesus because we are Christians. But if I were a Buddhist, I wouldn't mention Jesus, but I would say, bring the message, the good message, the construction message, the message of compassion, the message of learning, of teaching, instead of using the name Jesus. So when I'm saying this, I'm saying that we need to give, to teach a good pathway for them. But I spoke only apparently about physical children, real children, small kids, and so on. But what these two spirits talk about in these messages, and as I always do, read these messages. They are really interesting when you get home or when you have the chance. They go in a different way with this saying or this sentence from Jesus. They don't talk about children or physical children only. And I'm going to read a few sentences and then I'm going to make some comments about it. The first message from John the Evangelist starts like this. Christ said, "Let the little children come to me." Profound in their simplicity, these words do not contain just a call to children, but also a call to the souls who gravitate in the inferior regions where misfortune knows no hope. That's how he starts. He says, "Let the little children come to me." It is a profound message. That's how he starts. But this message is not only a call to the children, to young kids. It is also a call to everybody, to all the souls who gravitate in the inferior regions where misfortune knows no hope, where someone is in such a terrible condition that has no hope to go elsewhere. I think about this and I remember what I said in the beginning. when I asked you guys to think about how children were treated a while ago, as if they were worth nothing. Children these days are protected against child work or child labor because that's what they were used in the past for. When we read, for example, books, or be it fiction or nonfiction, about the slavery time, either here in America or in Brazil, or for that matter, anywhere in the world, the owners of the slaves would lay down with the women of the slaves to have children so that they could sell those children for their own profit as a merchandise. And we don't need to go back that long. There are places where when a family was like growing, because the parents wouldn't have enough money or whatever, or resources to take care of their land, they would have kids. And when they were old enough, they would put their kids to work in their farms instead of sending them to be taught to go to school. That was not long ago. And I bet that today we can still find things like this happening. Maybe and hopefully not here, maybe and hopefully not in Brazil, our country where we come from, maybe and hopefully nowhere. But if we look hard enough, we will find families that still do this. Because it takes a while for us to awake on those concepts that the future belongs to the children. Can you imagine, for example, just to cite a current news, we had the election like a few weeks ago, and today the electoral college like elected Biden. That's how the process goes. It was elected, but then the other who were elected based on the vote to elect the president. The vice president is an Indian American, meaning that she was born here, but her parents are from a village in India. I think it's in India. So can you imagine? I don't know how old she is. Let's say she is 50 years old. She's probably older than that. But maybe let's say she is 50 years old. 50 years ago, that girl was born. One day, she would become the vice president of the United States. Did she know that? Did their parents know that? No. What if they didn't have put into her mind the education that she needed to have? One child that was born around now, that is born around now, will be in 50 years a president of this country. Who is that kid? What are we teaching that kid right now? That's how important it is, education. But even, say, Joe Biden, he's what, almost 80 years old?
78. Yeah, 78.
Almost 80 years ago, that man was born. He served this country for such a long time. Probably in one point, it might have crossed his mind that he one day could run for president. But I bet that a lot of people said, oh, you're never going to be president, or you're never going to. Now he is. Now he is the president. What people were teaching him 78 years ago, 75 years ago, 68, when he was 10, what was he learning? So now, And probably if we go and look into not only him, I'm talking about him, of course, he's the current, or he will be the next one. But if it were another person, would be saying, using the same example, because it doesn't matter who it is. Any of these people, there might have come a time in their lives where they didn't have hope for whatever reason. Isn't him one that lost a kid, lost a child, and a daughter? Can you imagine the pain that he must have felt at that moment? As we may have lost someone in our lives, and we know how painful that is. Let the children come to me. At that moment, we are children. We are children. We feel like there's like as if the ground had just opened and we are falling. So this idea of Jesus talking to us and saying, let the children come to me, is that I have something in me or in my message that I can give to you to give you hope, to give you that comfort that is needed at that specific time. But he goes on, John goes on, and he says, Jesus also calls to the infantile, to the childish intellectuality of the adult. How many of us are still in that phase that we think we are adults, but our thoughts are so childish still? But he has heart, he has his arms open to all of us, to the weak, to those in slavery, to the depraved, and to the wicked. So basically what John is saying here is that he is making no exception of people. He is not separating people. He's saying, let them come to me. I'm not going to put anyone away. But we used Jesus's message for so many years to separate a lot of people. The rich from the poor, the black from the whites, the women to the men. We just separate. And Jesus's message, when we see and we feel it, it's the total opposite of this. He comes to the woman that no one could talk to, a woman that was alone. And if you knew that the woman was married, you could not go and talk to a woman if there was another man present. What does he do? He goes and talks to her. That's just like breaking a major rule in society. She even says that to him. Don't you know that you shouldn't be talking to me? That's how ingrained in her the message was. And he says, I'm not doing, he doesn't say that, but I'm not doing nothing wrong. Why is that rule even, why does this rule even exist? Why can't I talk to anyone that I want? It's basically what he's saying. Oh, you cannot talk to that man. Oh, that man is terrible because he takes taxes from people. He not only he talks to him, he invites himself to go to his house. And people are outside. Oh, look, Jesus is going to that house of the man that charges everyone and everybody considers him a bad person. Goes and talks to the prostitutes, goes and cure the one that cannot be cured because it's Saturday. He does everything wrong. And then he changes everything. Because he is not concerned about what people will think. He's concerned about what is constructive. What is, how can we improve? So the question here is, how can we improve if we don't gather people? How can we improve if we only separate people based on color, on race, on gender, on whatever we can create, whatever tag we put on people, it doesn't matter. Oh, because you're from the north and I'm from the south, because you're from the east and you're from the west, because I am Indian and today we're getting to a point where it's hard still, but it's I can remember my dad sometimes, he would tell me, or he told me a few times the same story, but he would tell me that when he was young, he would bring a magazine, Spiritist magazine, or the Gospel According to Spiritism, or whatever, to school. And people were almost like wanting to beat him because he had that book. Because of how terrible it was to be a Spiritist when he was in, that's what, 55 years ago. It's yesterday. So how much better are we? But how much many more stuff do we still have to go through to get to a very good place? And Jesus just keeps piling up on this idea of, let's not separate. Bring them to me. Let them come. I don't want to be away from anybody. I want to get everybody close to me. I know what this message is all about. The message is of hope, is of education, is of inner growth, is of compassion towards the other. It is about a compassion towards myself. It's about learning with the others. It's about teaching the others. It's about everybody together doing and making things happen. But we still keep doing the separation thing. No, you are this and I am this and they are this, and then we don't mix up. And Jesus says, let the children come to me. Let them come. Let them come. So he is inviting everyone. He is inviting us with our good things and with our bad things. Because the ones with good things can help ones with the bad things. I saw this story yesterday that a friend of mine sent me, and that's how I'm going to finish. And you're going to read this, I hope, and you're going to see that I didn't talk about much of what is here. Because there's so much to talk about that I just couldn't go through all of it. But I saw this story yesterday. A friend of mine sent me, and was a video. I would have played it here, but it's in Portuguese. So, I mean, they translated and dubbed in Portuguese, so it's kind of hard to do it. If I could have found the original, because it certainly was done in English. Because the very last part, they didn't dub it. So it's the original owner of the channel and then he says something in English there. But the story is very simple, very simple. Probably you guess the story when I start telling, but it is very, very, very interesting. A friend of mine sent me, and I wrote something back to him after. The story is, there is this man and his daughter. They are at a convenience store, and they have 4 items in their hands: a cake and 3 more stuff. They are going to buy it. Then there's a line behind them. The guy right behind them is complaining because he's taking too long. Hey, dude, what's going on? Don't you know that we are here? But he is discussing with the lady that's tending to them, because he doesn't have enough money to buy everything. So he says, what do I need to take out so that I can have? So he takes out the mayonnaise or something, and then there's still not enough money. And then has to take out the cake. And the cake was for his father that was having a birthday. And the daughter said, but Dad, you're going to make your father so happy. But I can't. There's not enough money. So they leave the store, and then they keep going and they keep talking. Then all of a sudden comes a man right behind them, and said, "Hey, sir, I noticed that you were trying to buy this cake, and here it is for you." I said, "What?" "Yeah, here it is, the cake that you couldn't buy. I'm buying it for you. I know that house situations are. Why are you doing this?" "Well, there was a while ago I received this note from a man um, that noticed that I was going through this hard situation, and he could help me. And then he helped me and gave me this card. And now I'm doing what he asked me to do. And I'm giving you the card." And the card said pay it forward. So instead of paying back to the person, pay it to another person, pay it forward. That's what I'm doing. I'm giving back because I don't know who he was. So now I'm paying it to another person. So he he accepts it, is very, very happy, and goes back to his house. And when he gets to her house, and then they sing happy birthday, give the cake to the father, and they're happy and so on. Said, "But how did you get it? I know that you don't have the money and so on." "Oh yeah, this is the story." And then he tells the story that I just told you guys. And he gave me this card. And then when gives the card to his dad, and then the image changes, and his dad remembers that one day in the past when he was able to, he gave a card like that to someone and came back to him. To me, that's the idea. That's the idea of the message of all great messages. All great messages. Once again, we talk about Jesus, but all great messages is the message that we are all connected. We are all connected. We never know how our actions will impact the lives of other people. We never, never know. And then I told this to my friend. I said, "Oh, thank you for remembering me," and that's so true. You don't know how impactful you are in my life. That's what I told him. And then this morning, as I'm going to work, or before leaving the house going to work, I grab my phone, and then I have a message from my sister that lives in Brazil, and then she says, "Oh, I heard this song," and then she puts like a clip. I guess she recorded on WhatsApp the audio clip on her car or whatever. Then she plays it back to me, like just 30 seconds of the song, and she says, "Every time that I hear this song, I remember when you recorded your daughter," and she's talking about my daughter, "when you recorded your daughter singing that song, and how every time I hear this song, I remember that video, and that makes me smile, and that brings something to my heart." And then she writes exactly this: "No one never knows the impact that they have on other people's lives." And when we tell separate, when we tell go away, when we tell we don't receive, we don't know that impact. So let's embrace, because it will be the opposite impact if we open up, if we can. It's hard sometimes. It is hard sometimes. It's not easy to let them come. It's not easy to receive. It's not. But we never know how impactful those actions are in our lives, and in our lives and the other people's lives. So in this time of the year where Jesus is kind of remembered a little bit more because of Christmas. At least his name is there, Christmas in English, not in Portuguese, but at least in English we see his name there. We may we remember that message, the message of inclusion, of inclusivity, of opening up to others, of paying forward. It's not because it's not to give back to them or to pay back to who paid me. No, but to give back to the community, as we usually hear and listen to it here in the United States. So let the children come to me is much more than just children. It's to all of us. It's Jesus inviting all of us to his arms so that he can lay his hands on us, bless us, and help us go through with life that sometimes it's so hard, but it's also so worth it to live and to live a good life. So that was chapter 8, items 18 and 19 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. And I hope I had not, I have explained a little better my thoughts, but once again, just to reassure, read the chapter, read the items, because there's so many more stuff there than what I said here. Um, and I guess that's it for tonight, right, Chris? Okay, so before we finish with our prayer, I'd just like to remind everyone, or not remind, but tell everyone that we're still closed, and based on what's going on right now, we didn't talk to the to our to our directory, to people, but I don't see how we will reopen everything because things are going backwards. More cases are growing up, so we don't need to close Mondays. We have so little people. There's no, but I don't see how we're gonna open until the government says, okay, let's go back again. And now, right now, I just saw this afternoon that Boston the whole state is on a certain level, but Boston is going. It's level 3. Boston is level 2. So it's going to be more restrict because, of course, Boston is even worse. More people together is right, and Chelsea and all that area around. So I don't know if we are going to be able to reopen in January still for our activities on Saturday, but we didn't decide it yet. But what I want to say is we're still having we're not open physically, but we still have our meetings every Saturday from 7 to 8:30 virtually. And we've been having great talks and so many interesting people coming and talking to us. This last Saturday with a friend from Uberaba. Yeah. César Carneiro lived with Chico Xavier, so many stories, and his smile and it was such a wonderful night that we had with him. Of course, it's all in Portuguese, but this Saturday, it's going to be even more special, not because of the person that's coming, but because it's going to be a longer study. So special in the sense that it's going to be a deeper study. It will be like a seminar. So from 4 p.m. to 8:30, it will be 4.5 hours. We don't need to watch it all together. We don't need to. It will be all recorded, but it would be interesting to see people come and say hello right on the YouTube page. Hey, I'm here. I'm listening to this. There will be 6 different moments where they're going to talk about the book Paul and Stephen, Paulo e Estevão, talking about the story or parts of the story of Paul, who was Saul one day, and by meeting Jesus decided to change his life, and Stephen, who was there with him and is part of his life. So we're going to have 5 different people talking about different topics on this book. One will talk about the how Paul I would say drove, but he didn't drive. There was no cars there, right? How he walked or sailed around, or on a horseback, or walked around the whole world or part of the world to spread the word. We're going to talk about Paul's letters to other people. The letter Paul to Corinthians, to the Romans, to the Hebrews. We're going to talk about Paul before he was Paul, and what was to be a Jew back then. Right? Paul from Jew became a Christian. So, what was Saul before becoming a Christian? And we're going to talk about other characters that lived around that time. Probably Stephen, probably Abigail, probably Ananias, and other people there. So, and then we're going to have moments where we're going to have questions and answers, so something more interactive with people. So it will be, and there will be at least one music that will be played live too from Brazil to us. So there, it will be a seminar, will be a long seminar, but it will be interesting because, you know, different people talking about different topics. And we are very excited to have them here, and they are people that really know what they're talking about. One of them, for example, is Severino Celestino. He is one of the, he translated and he has books about translation from Hebrew to Portuguese. And he teaches in a theological university in Brazil. So he is kind of an expert, not only in the language, but also he studied to become a priest, stopped right there, and then became a spiritist, and then kept studying. So I mean, he has a whole background of stuff. There's another one who was a Jew up to when he was, I don't know what age. He is very young still. Um, but then he met Spiritism and decided to study Spiritism. So he knows a lot about being a Jew and about what is to be a Jew, how they lived back then. So he has a lot of knowledge in that area. And when you make that transition, when you are able to explain that and we can relate to that, it brings so much more to our understanding of how hard it was back then and what do we have right now. So it will be a very interesting afternoon, night, from 4 p.m. to 8:30, and it's just youtube.com, Cantinho de Luis. You'll find it very easy, and just like subscribe to the channel if you have not, and then click on the little bell there, and you'll be notified. Um, but it will be very, very interesting. And then the last Saturday of the month, we're going to have another special talk from a friend of us in Brazil uh, as well. Um, and he will talk about Jesus, Saint Francis of Assisi, and Christmas. So it will be a mixture of uh, Saint Francis, Jesus, and what Christmas is to us, was to them. So we have two good meetings. We're going to have two good meetings on the next 2 Saturdays for everybody. So with that, almost gave another talk. Right? Finished one and then gave another one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and if we want to bring a little of this idea of I when I think about this, I always think about why do we come to the Spiritist Center? We come to the Spiritist Center to learn, of course, but it is a moment where we are in a place where it's protected, where we have a certain level of calmness, because we also know that the good spirits and everything they are around here trying to protect this place. And why is that? That is not only because it's a physical place, but because whatever we do here, we do with that mentality, with that idea of improving ourselves. So it's like as if we fill this place with good thoughts. If we want to have that same thing in our houses, we then we should do something that we do here, which is at least once a week, sit down and do what we call the gospel at home, or God at home, as some people prefer. Sit down, do a prayer, get a book, read that message, make some comments, think about that, and invite the good spirits to be with us. Then put some water if we want to, just like we do here, and then drink at the end and do a final prayer. So it's a very basic, can be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, half an hour, doesn't matter. Some people do every day at a certain place, some people do once a week, doesn't matter. What's important is that we have, if we want to do it, that we have like a discipline to do it every week at the same time, or at the same especially at the same time and at the same day, so that we can discipline ourselves to invite the good spirits to be with us, and that's that's a very good tool for us to improve our house, to improve um, the spiritual air of the house, is to do our gospel at home once a week. If we want to, we don't know how to do it, Christiane can go to their houses. She goes everywhere. She's never home. She leaves the house all the time, right?
They already do the gospel.
Oh, they do?
Adriana already went there.
Oh, Adriana did. You didn't go. You didn't go. She did. Adriana did.
Adriana is bad.
Oh, okay.
I can go if I have to.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's why I said it. You know. Okay, so with this, let's just do our final prayer so that we can all go back to our homes. Thanking God for the opportunity of being here, for learning and thinking a little bit more about the gospel, about this good news that Jesus brought to us, showing us that that we are able to be happy, to help other people be happy as well, so that we can all together be happy and make this world a better place to live. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, good spirits, for being always there for us. And may your blessings follow us wherever we go, whenever we are, now and forever, so be it. So, não, eu posso imprimir agora. Uhum. Yeah, you can wait.
Meninas, como vocês estão? Estão bem, graças a Deus. Você? Tô bem, Mickey Mouse. Obrigada. O quê? Água com cantinho? Ah, não. O que você falou, Cris? Eu tô lendo a camiseta Mickey Mouse. Elas foram para Disney. Ah! Vocês foram para Disney? A gente foi ano passado, na Califórnia, ano passado. É igual da Flórida? Natal? Não, não. É bem pequenininha. Mas